Girl, we got some tea?
With the honey and the sugar.
Nah, we gonna need some wine for this one. Well, wine me, please. Welcome back. I can sing y'all. Welcome back. Welcome back to the Wine Me Please podcast. As you guys see, it's just me and Candace.
She's dipping.
She just keep on dipping. I guess she don't want the coin. I'm just playing. She's looking for a different bag. She's in the producer's bag. She's behind the screen. Shaniqua, she's still with us. But we do have someone here that is gonna take her job for today.
Yes, because he's a professional, actually. I brought my brother / Pops, and I'll get to explaining the nuances of that. But I brought Dr. Kelechi Ibe-Lamberts, professor at UIC, studies community health. And so he is also the host of My Black is Transnational podcast. Yep. So plug that in there.
Absolutely.
I met Kels 2009. He is my pledge father, and that's why I call him Pop sometimes. So I just want to throw out, I do have daddy issues, but that ain't it. He ain't it, okay? He's my pledge dad, but at the same time, he's like 2 years younger than me, so he's like my brother, but he's wiser, right? Kels has been in my life since then, and he's kind of been like my wise person, my logical brain, my mentor.
You give me too much credit.
I do, and I believe in giving people their flowers while they're alive, and so I do want to give him that kudos and introduction.
Thank you.
So welcome to have you here.
Yes, pleasure. I'm very
Black
excited
excellence.
Yeah. So tell us about this wine.
Oh yeah, we do got wine.
That was my bad. I was strong on the introduction, brother.
You did. Hey, listen, I appreciate it. Listen, the intro was so strong, we all sobered up real quick. Hey, this is a dry podcast all of a sudden.
I was like, oh, damn, we got wine. I thought we did have kills.
Exactly.
Okay.
I love it. Don't try it yet.
Okay.
All right, y'all. So we got Snoop D-O-double-G. No.
Yes.
We
Black
have
History Month shout out.
Crimes Cali Rose by Snoop Dogg. Okay, this man do everything. He preach, he act, and he make wine.
Somebody preach.
And he at the Olympics, okay?
So this wine has aromas of ripe strawberry and delicate floral rose petals. Okay, this must be for the ladies. Mm-hmm. It is fruit-forward flavors of fresh raspberry, strawberry, and red cherry. Snoop, you really make this? 19 Crimes is defiant by nature, bold in character, and always uncompromising. This spirit lives on today through innovators and culture creators like Cali's own Snoop Dogg. A leader in contemporary pop culture, Snoop embodies the timeless values of the 19 Crimes rogue who came before him. 12% alcohol, y'all. I'm taking a sip.
All right.
I got to get back home.
All right. So for our charcuterie board, we have brie cheese. We have the goat with prosciutto. Only I have the prosciutto because, they don't eat pork. They do have the turkey sausage. Mm-hmm. And then we have the pepper crackers. So I'll go ahead and pass these down.
All right.
I'm going to pray over these.
We're going to pray over it because the goat cheese to me, it's a texture thing. I don't know. We'll give it a shot.
All right.
Let
me pass
this.
Let's
try. Let's just get the goat because I want to get this
flavor
flavor
out the way?
Yeah, just in case the flavor, just in case.
Wash it down.
Yeah.
I'm going to try the pepper one.
Okay.
Okay, don't be the one to drop this now.
Ooh. Okay. I would be.
Not bad.
Hold on.
Not bad.
It's a little sour.
I ain't mad at it.
A little sour. That's not the flavored one though.
It tastes like thick Greek yogurt. It's chalky. That's what it is. It's chalky.
It's not terrible, but it's thick. I wouldn't have a whole mouthful of it.
I wouldn't have it ever again.
How you like it, Pops?
Really good. It's solid.
Solid?
Mm-hmm.
So
definitely got a little goat cheese, definitely goat cheese.
I would say goat cheese is not horrible. It's an acquired taste.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the It's like the white grapefruit juice of cheese.
That's deep.
When you put it that way, you like.
That's
Because
real
a
deep.
lot of people don't. I love white grapefruit juice, but a lot of people hate it because
Yeah.
it's an acquired taste. So there you go.
Whoop, whoop.
Oh no, I knew I would be
The
the
producer gonna kick you out. There you go.
I
I'm
apologize.
joking. I'm joking. Should not. We good. We
Thank
got
you very
we the
much.
cleanup crew. We good. All right. So let's go ahead and taste the wine. We did that just in case the flavor just. Okay.
Ooh, they got a bite.
Definitely had to. Definitely
Yeah.
was the first thing I was thinking. Like, well, this will hit you
Yeah.
right there, but it's not bad.
Not
Okay.
bad. Not bad.
I like it.
Not
Okay, Snoop.
bad. Not bad.
Definitely would have thought you was a Kanye Hennessy maker, but if you want to make
But doesn't
wine,
he? I could have sworn he
I
had a
think he does all
cognac.
of the
probably
above.
do.
Okay.
He's a jack of all trades.
All right. Speaking of jack of all trades, the reason I invited Kels on the show is he has been a leader in the community for as long as I've known him. In college, Greek life, father, friend, mentor, working at UIC as a professor. What has been your experience as a leader in the community in predominantly white spaces, for one, especially with the research that you do, and just mentoring the youth at your youth?
Yeah. It's been interesting, but I've always made it a point to be authentic in the spaces that I navigate, and I've always been very intentional in what I want to accomplish in those types of spaces. I remember having a conversation with my wife, who I know y'all had on the show not that long ago, and I remember having a conversation in the car, and I'm like, I never come into a space or a room or join an organization where I don't envision myself leading that organization in some way, shape, or form. If not, then I'm wasting my time, right? Like, and it doesn't mean that I can't contribute. There's a way you can kind of go about doing that. When I say leading, it's not, when I have these conversations, I tell people that, in terms of when I go and lead organizations or if I'm in the classroom, I'm very big on knowing your role, understanding that when we talk about how to manage time, but also minimize stress and risk factors for stress, I'm very big on making sure that people know that there's a time for you to be a general and there's a time where you need to be a private. You don't always have to be the general of everything, right? And I think sometimes I run into and I mentor other students, aspiring professionals who find themselves wanting to run all of it. Is this censored?
No,
Okay,
you can
'cause
cuss. You can.
I talk
you
my
can
shit.
Yes, I was gonna say.
Right, so you ain't
I
gotta,
was like, no, you can.
okay, I just want to make sure, right? But you ain't gotta run everything, right? It's not. A lot of people always want to come in and you want to be, and that ultimately, whatever you're putting down, it turns out that in itself is how you dictate or define your leadership. And I try to let people know that the leadership is not always about just being in the front, right? You can be in different spaces, but it's how you contribute. How consistent are you? How present are you? Right? And also being completely honest with yourself. So for me, I've always been able to navigate various spaces. I was just blessed and I was fortunate enough to have a multicultural background that allowed me to be able to just, build and interact with people from different backgrounds. I've always been a firm believer that intelligence, the greatest form of intelligence, is being able to talk to people on multiple levels. Right. So I don't always. So it's not just about me coming in. When I'm in academic spaces,
Yeah.
I can speak like an academic, right? I can pontificate and I can have a lexicon,
In the hood,
right?
don't
But when
try
I'm
him.
right, but when I'm in in certain spaces, people consider it urban, whatever. But if I'm in the hood with my peoples, we talking Ebonics, right? So it's being able to navigate and know how to interact and build relationships, but also just valuing people, right? And so when I'm in these majority white spaces like academia, they understand that I have the ability. I can show how to properly achieve certain things, but I've also made it a point to do it authentically my way. So when it comes to my work that I do at Transnational, when it comes to the way that I teach specifically, that's what I value most, right? I value mentorship. Like you mentioned, Candace, that's a very important thing to me, even more so than my academic track, right? Like I came into the space, not especially at UIC, I came in not looking for tenure, where a lot of my other mates and colleagues have spent a lot of their lives aspiring to achieve tenure and that type of permanence, where for me, I understand why I came to UIC. I came to UIC because I wanted to do work and do research to educate and uplift my people, to be able to find ways to have a presence. I'm the only Black male faculty member in there, right? There's not that many people that look like me. So when I come into a space, I'm not always coming in suited and booted, right? There's a time and place for that.
Exactly.
And this has been
I was
around
gonna
my
say I
class.
sat in one of his class. He looked just like he
I
do
come
today.
just like this because and not just because like I want to be comfortable, but I also want students, my black and brown students to understand that like the idea of what you define or how you perceive a professor needs to change, right? Because when you think about what a professor is, you automatically have this preconceived notion and how this person should be able to act and how they comport themselves. But nah, man, nigga, I came up.
Can I tap into that too?
Yeah.
Because I think oftentimes we see what we think a professor should look like, and their look makes us think that what they're doing is not obtainable for us.
Exactly.
So when I see someone that kind of looks like me and dresses somewhat like me, it's like, oh, okay, now that I can get to, that I can grow to. But you said a few things that as you was talking, I was like, ooh, question.
That's what I'm here for. That's what I do, right? Like this.
I have like so many questions.
Please.
So one thing you mentioned about you was talking about being able to exist in multiple spaces. A lot of people would think that that's code switching. That's not necessarily code switching. It's just being able to be adaptable and still being who you are.
Exactly.
And how much is that is rooted in like some traumatic experience? How much is that rooted in having to be in those different spaces? You know what I mean? So yeah, not necessarily code switching.
Feeling like you have to become the space that you're in. It's like, no, you don't have to become. In fact, make them adapt to you. Make them come and work in sweatpants.
Right. So that's what I'm saying, right? So you come into a space and you're like, all right, and this is the decision. Sometimes I talk to little homies and I'm like, you come in, you're the thermometer or the thermostat. Right? And there's a time when you're going to be the thermometer or there's a time when you're going to be the thermostat. You got to figure out at that time exactly what is your intention and what are you trying to achieve, which goes back to what I was saying. I don't go into a space until I understand what my pure objective is. Am I coming in envisioning myself leading? Then at some point I need to evolve from a thermometer to a thermostat. You get what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Like, so at some point I'm going to come in and I have to understand. But you know, philosophically, we talking about
that was so deep.
Adapting to
stop checking the temperature and set the temperature.
You see what I'm saying? At some point you're going to evolve, right?
Quotable moment.
At some point you got to, right? Because you're sitting there and you're like, all right, well, they say you know the rules before you come, right? And so going back to just adapting to those spaces, you're gonna come and you're gonna go through those levels of imposter syndrome. But if you sit there long enough and you understand the rules, you see a lot of the people, especially on white people, you be like, man, a lot of these people break these rules, and a lot of them there's a privilege, right?
I can't break those same rules,
right? And so you understand at some point you get to a stage where you're like, oh, these people they're not that much better, but there's certain
make the rules work
structural things in place that give them an advantage that allows them to be able to feel like they're a little bit more ahead. But when you start to really observe, you realize people don't know as much shit as I do. I probably know more shit than them, right? So
I want our people to realize is that sometimes they focus so much on their advantage that you don't realize not having that advantage makes you more resilient.
Yes.
So you can exist in more spaces. You can overcome more things because of certain privileges that you don't have.
Exactly.
Privileges are not always beneficial.
Exactly.
At all.
Because their resilience, right? Their resilience allows you to be able to take in. You're more calloused, so you can be able to take a couple more things that some people wouldn't, right? So if somebody, even from an academic space, I may have some students, and this is sometimes where I have to even in the other end be like, you need to speak up more, because you have some students who will be willing to deal with a little bit more BS that happens because they're so used to it, whereby other students with certain more privileges are able to complain immediately. The first at the time when you get a 99 out of 100, they automatically at your door like, what's going on? I need to understand why. Where you have students who you probably deserve that 100, but you're not gonna say anything because you're so used to being put in check by the system, right? So you realize like, all right, well, and I'm like, no, you have enough resilience to be able to push through. You've pushed through it before. Right. You're gonna push through it again. But you are in a space when I'm talking to my my black and brown students coming in, and I'm like, look, y'all, the tuition, it's getting paid regardless whether you're on a scholarship or something. You either paying out of pocket. You have resources and advantages that you need to take advantage of, right? Things that you can be able to use and leverage to propel you to move further in your career, whatever you're aspiring to do. So like, don't sit there and try to be on some. I'm finna do this myself. I'm finna do the same thing I didn't. No, you
Yeah.
paying buku bucks.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
and I guarantee the people who know who have those events,
No.
they gonna
You know,
finesse
you
the
know.
system because they understand the structures.
That just made me think about just a sense of community, right? Of like being able to use the resources on your campus and things like that, access to resources. I think us being at U of I, we had a campus type of community that allowed us to have more. To me, it felt like we had more access.
Yeah.
Do you feel like there's a difference with that being in a city environment of like using those resources, using those counselors, using those people in those black spaces that would help you, navigate those spaces?
I mean, I think the city does allow for a little bit more. You have a wider reach in terms of what you can. So sometimes a lot of those resources, especially for those who from the city, right? Which, and if you're from the city, a lot of them don't tend to rely on that the resources on campus as much as maybe those who are from out of town. You
Gotcha.
from Wisconsin, because you're so used to resorting to what you already know. It feels very foreign at times to realize that, like, oh man, like there is a mental health or a counselor that I could talk to. God help us, maybe that person's black, and they'd be able to, you can relate to and be able to, have consistent sessions with. But even opportunities for financial aid or opportunities for different types of support, work study, students sometimes find themselves just being like, nah, I'll just try to see if I can get a job like nearby the crib. It's like, nah, bro, but like you can literally just, work on campus, especially if you're doing work study, get something that can hit your tuition and can put you in a space where you don't have to pay as much out of pocket, whatever. So there's so many things, right? And even me, like, quite frankly, I'm still learning, right? Because this is my this is my third year now at UIC. So coming back home throughout my travels after leaving, Champaign. But I definitely could say that there isn't that much of that community because in Champaign, what else do we have?
Each other.
You know what I mean? The one we had, we always
Yeah.
got, right? So we didn't have
Yeah.
anything else. So in Chicago, there's a little bit more that you can kind of tap into, especially like UIC is right on the west side. There's so many resources that are starting. I'm not going to sit there and say they're all there yet because they're taking some as much as they're giving, but there are opportunities there that people can still be able to reach out to some organizations out west or even West Loop or whatnot that you can be able to utilize. Where in Champaign, if we ain't use it, where we going, right? We got to so that I think is the difference there. But
Okay. You mentioned you take mentorship personally, like you take it like that's probably more of a role to you than you being a professor.
Absolutely.
What drove you to want to kind of be that role for a lot
because
of people?
because I wouldn't be here if not for those people, right? Not my mentors, my sponsors, right? There's a level to it, and I think there's also a cultural dynamic in what mentorship looks like across white people and black people. Where with black people, we've been doing this mentoring thing. We talk about big brother, big sister. We do all these boys and girls club, right? And it kind of goes with us. Where I should just say black and brown culture, mentoring is I want to know not just what you're doing in school, but how's your life, right? What's going on? Even what's the tea? Who's your bae? Like all
And he is in your business.
Yeah, because and all that
I
matters
love
because it's holistic, right?
Yes.
Our progression is a product of holistic care, and these determinants of progress are influenced not just by one thing. There's so many things that factor into our progression, our home lives, our financial status, right? Like our social health, right? All physical health, management of stress, all those things matter. So for me, when I'm advising someone, when I'm mentoring somebody, it's not a you, it's a we. We a team, right? At the end of the day, because I'm with you. Now what I tell my mentees is that I'll take you as seriously as you want me to take you. I mean, if you're on BS, we're gonna be on BS. Right? Like that's cool. Like if you want to play around,
I would say I don't match energy, I match effort.
You feel me? Right? Like if you on that,
I'm gonna meet you where you at.
Yeah, meet you where you at.
I'm gonna meet you where you're at because at this point, like as the more mentees I have, it's different levels.
Because he doesn't lose them; he holds on to them for life.
It's for life. You stuck with me, and that's what I say. Like again, it's a two-way thing, right? But like at the end of the day, I value that because I had so many people who looked out for me, who put me in positions, and I've always been big on paying it forward. I've always been big on the idea of greater than yourself, right? There's this concept. I read a book, and it's always stuck with me as far as if you want to grow collectively, you give to someone everything that you can give so that they become greater than you.
Question: have you seen the movie Forge? The Forge?
No, I have not.
It just recently came out.
Really?
You should check it out because
Okay.
it's about discipleship,
Mhm.
but heavily like on mentorship and like everything you're saying. I'm like the forge,
Oh
the
yeah,
forge.
I gotta check
Like
it out.
from taking young men underneath their wing to like having them like forever and just growing with them
Yeah,
and then molding them to take others underneath their
absolutely.
wing
That is
and
it.
to help them grow. And if you get the chance, check out the
I
forge. It's a
definitely
really
will.
good
I
movie.
definitely will for sure. Is it on like
Is it on the
Netflix?
theater or?
Is it
It,
streaming?
it was just it just
Theater?
came. It was in theater.
Okay,
I don't
say
know
less.
if it's
Okay,
still
there
in
you go,
theater,
date
but it
night.
was
Say
There you
in
less,
go.
right? Right. Say
He
less.
was like,
Yeah.
you made it easy.
Yeah. Be there.
Exactly. There's a big spiritual background to
That's
it,
cool.
Perfect. Yeah.
but it's heavily rooted in
Okay.
helping young men in mentorship.
Oh, I'm down.
That's
I'm down.
yeah. So
I love all that. So yeah, just as far as when it comes to just I think about it as far as the people who when I didn't know anything, right? I even from a cultural standpoint, right? Again, I didn't go in too deep into my background being a 1.5 immigrant, meaning I came here at a young age, 8 years old from Nigeria, right? Being able to learn, I had to learn a lot about Black culture, and I had to learn a lot about America, predominantly on my own. But I really had to rely on a lot of people who were willing to take me in as their own, right? And so I came in to a practice here in the United States of being part of a village, and the village meant everybody looked out, and we gave what we could to make sure that child of ours grows to become something bigger than the village.
Okay.
And then so, as far as that child is, it's, the lift is we climb, basically,
Yeah.
right? Like it's basically that same concept. So for me, I find joy in other people's success, right? That is one of the greatest things. I remember being in an interview for one of the faculty positions I interviewed for in New York, where we were in upstate New York, and one of the things the chair of the department said was like, imagine what a great day is. Like, tell me what a great day would be. And I was like, a great day is going to work, coming in and getting a call from one of my mentees saying that they got into whatever school they wanted to get into. They got whatever job they wanted to get into, right? They found the person that they love, right? Like those are the things that really, bring elation to me, so that I'm like, all right, yeah, because at this point that is a legacy. That is the imprint, right? And when I talk about the people that I love and the community that I build, their roadmaps. I remember what every person, where I was at every stage in my life, and how someone contributed to that. My story would be completely different if I didn't meet some of the people, meet Candace, like meet a lot of people that, for whether they think that I'm doing a lot for them, they're doing the same for me. It's always been reciprocal, right? So I don't, I always find some type of value in the people that I meet. I understand that there are levels, right? We don't always have to be the closest. That's not necessarily what we have to be, but there's a certain level of commitment that I'm willing to give to ensure that that person can achieve whatever they aspire to achieve. That to me is how I define leadership, is being able to point you in the right direction. And if you want me to roll with you, I'm right behind you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so that is kind of how I've been. I don't care what gender you are. I don't care all of that type of stuff. I'm all for let's get to that bag.
Right.
Let's achieve that goal. We can worry about all the shenanigans later. But if I see that there's something that I have to give, that I can give to make you better, then why? What am I holding it back for? Right. So I used to sit, and Candace will tell you that I sit and I be on some deep thinking shit all the time.
That's my deep thinker. That's
So
my
like,
deep thinker.
so
This should be your post.
that's too head ass for me. But
People like this.
Yeah. But so the thing about it is, like, I said, and I was like, for somebody, and this is what I be saluting my wife all the time. She get tired of it, but I'm like, I be having somebody who just sit and just let me just talk through this shit, because I be like, all right, and I was telling her, I was like, the for somebody who knows so much and don't share nothing, that's hella stressful, right? The man that knows it all and doesn't give is a doomed person, right? Because you just have so much that but you don't want to share with anybody. Who you sharing it for? Like, so you know so much, and you see people going through something, you don't want to help, and that doesn't bother you, right? So that is something that in itself is a detriment. So I've always found, like, if I know anything, I'm gonna give it to my people. Whatever they want to do with it, that's fine, right? But if I have it, I know that when it's all said and done, I gave what I could give, and we move forward, right? So yeah, I value mentoring more than anything. I put myself in a position. I took less money because I can go industry with my degree and my accomplishments, but I'd rather be in spaces where I see the next generation, because what I know is that whatever impact I can leave on them, at some point, if I do it right, my kids will benefit. And their kids will benefit. Right? If I know that I've contributed to, I mean, I can even say it now when I talk to my kids. I know that I've played a role. All my mentees are in really good spaces in their life professionally. My kids don't got no choice.
Right.
Who gonna tell them? Who gonna, like, you see what I'm saying? Like, so I've been able to mentor doctors, lawyers, engineers, people who are in high-end places. We've been able to contribute to our growth collectively as a village of intellectuals and just well-to-do people,
right.
Black, brown, whatever. Like, it don't even matter. But now my kids, when they're looking for people to connect with, they grow up in a community of people that my auntie is a psychologist. My auntie's a, you know what I'm saying?
Like, we all here at graduation.
Yeah,
we all here.
That is the progress. That to me is the evolution of what, like, I believe Black communities should be. Right. And that's, I mean, there were times, and I think there are spaces where those things are happening, and I think other groups are trying to make those types of things as well. But like, why not? So that's what I want to continue to do, and I hope that the people that I'm able to contribute to their lives in some way, shape, or form are able to do the same, because I know in some way it comes full circle.
Yeah. So you spoke about briefly about your, I wanted to tell your upbringing with your foundation. So I'd imagine for a lot of brown and Black kids, you are the introduction for their foundation. Yeah. So how do you maintain that pressure? Because I would think there was a little bit of pressure there, being the one person's sole foundation and example.
I love pressure though.
Okay. That was created under pressure.
I love it. I love it though, because it allows me to stay on my toes, and that's, you know, there's so many reasons why I make certain choices in my life as to why I made certain decisions, because I understood that I wanted to be the one where somebody asks you, what is this? Right? Like, I know that every time I have to come ready. Okay. Right? Like, people would ask me all the time, why did you become a member of Iota Phi Theta? And I tell them, because I know that every time they see me in August, somebody gonna come to me and ask me, what is an Iota? And I need to be ready. You know what I'm saying? Like, I understand that some people have different privileges of being part of different organizations, and no shade to them.
Absolutely.
But they don't need to have to say anything. Exactly. You already know what it is. But I know that when I walk into a space, you're going to ask me what this is, and I got to be ready. Right? So the same thing applies when it comes to mentoring, or when it comes to somebody saying, hey, you the first Black professor that I've ever had. You the first Black male professor I've ever had. That's cool, because I want you to understand that you're gonna remember me. Not just that, but also you can see that the way I interact and communicate with you, I've set a standard where you understand that, like, being a professor ain't that crazy. Like, you're just a normal person like me. You watching the game, you know, you on Netflix, you talk about, you know, we talking about sports, we talking about memes, we're talking about all the things that I do on a regular, but you're still at this position. How did you get there? Obviously, you know, it's achievable.
And that's true too, because I still, when I was at UIC, I remember the first Black professor, even from undergrad, the first Black professor that I experienced at all. My entire college career was at UIC. He was a Black male, and he was so relatable. Like, he literally came in, he said, hey, I just here to let y'all know, whether y'all come to class or not, I'm gonna get paid regardless.
Oh God. That's what I said. Listen, that's what I said. That's what, listen, same philosophy
and I was in class every day, because I was
my degree, not his. He got his already.
I said the same thing. I said the same thing in class one day.
I'm gonna get paid regardless.
I said the same thing in class. I said, listen, it don't matter, homework in, check clear, baby.
Exactly.
Like, the check is clear, the deposit is in. So it don't matter, right? Y'all gonna have to do what y'all gotta do as well. But no, so understanding
that relatability, though, that casualness of it, that a lot of professors and other cultures don't know how to,
and how you communicate,
and you're reaching kids that probably go into that space scared that they won't find someone that they can connect with that look like them or had experiences similar to them.
When I'm lecturing and I can be able to bring in scenarios that students didn't think a professor could bring in, right? When I'm using languages, you know, we're talking about different definitions, but I'm like, oh, that's the T, even though, you know, or like, yeah, that's cap or whatever, right? Like
cool?
Or like even jokingly, like my little brother be like, okay, per, like whatever, right? So, you know, just saying little things like that allows for you to create a certain comfort level that students automatically know. And it ain't always about my white students. They got enough representation. But if you roll with it, you roll with it. You know, but for
And
my black
TikTok
students.
shows you that they learn this stuff
Exactly.
on
You
regardless.
know,
Yeah,
of course, they're gonna appropriate. They're
They
gonna
gonna find
appropriate
it
what they're gonna
anyway.
appropriate. So I'm not worried about them 100%. It's really the students that I know it's one of you, like it's one or two of you, the ones that you always have to feel that someone would look at you when they wanted you to define or explain this experience. And you don't got to do that, right? I'm here to do that for you, right? I'm here to facilitate that space and kind of not necessarily serve protection, but being able to let you know that you don't have to feel anxiety in being able to explain your black experience, because when I come into the classroom, I let you know that the way I'm teaching this is through the eyes of a black man. So you're gonna get the black experience, right? But the black experience is still very much so connected to whatever topic. But you're gonna understand that there's lots of hints of racism in this. So you're gonna feel that too. Right. So like either way, and so that's why I'm saying like being in this space is it's I've been fortunate enough to be in. I escaped Florida very quickly. So I did my postdoc in Florida, but I got out of there real before it got real hot. But like otherwise, I've been in spaces that have allowed me to be able to be authentically myself. I talk my shit respectfully, right? I don't ruffle feathers to the point, but I do speak in a way that allows people to feel accountable, but also understand that you can't just automatically assume certain things about certain people.
Absolutely.
Right. And so that has been the gist of my journey overall so far. It's still ongoing. But I'm very, very grateful to be able to have and impact many lives and vice versa. And I want to continue to do that because that's my pride and joy.
Okay. Something you touched on, you said of all genders, and I wanted to speak on that a little bit because I think it takes an art to be a safe space for people in general, but also be a safe space for young black women. And I know you have been a mentor to a lot of young black women and create a lot of safe spaces. Like you said, you take it at a holistic approach. It's not just about your academic. You really genuinely care about people.
Absolutely.
So the nuances of that and creating safe space for young black women, how have you managed that, and how have you navigated that?
Yeah, it's never been a thing. I know like that was a big thing like when my wife and I were starting to date, and she realized, she's like, you got all these little girls with you. And I was like, yeah, I mean, what's that got to do with me and you? Like, because at the end of the day, but I think when she sees the interaction, she understands that it's very platonic. And I'm very, very good in being a separate. I'm one of those people that believe that men and women can't have friendships without it being. I grew up in space. I grew up around women. I had sisters, right? Like, so, and I understand, and I've always been empathetic in understanding the plight of black women, not to the extent that I do now, but very much at a young age, I've always had this mindset of equality, even to a fault, right? And so when it came to interacting with young women, what you really think I'm going to be sitting here playing around and not just wasting my time, but wasting your time because I want to get a nut? Like,
right.
That's not what I think my biggest impact on the person, rather than being their lover, is being somebody that contributes to their elevation in life.
Absolutely.
That is a greater impact. I don't need the pleasure of intimacy to be able to find joy in my interactions with women, right? So because I understand that those are two different spaces.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when you find that special someone that you want to bring it all together with, I found my person, and we were able to bring those worlds together. But before that, we separate those things, right? And they're different.
Compartmentalized.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I mean, when people tell me, I feel like then you're telling me that you don't have the ability to, and that's fine. Not everybody can do everything. Like some people can't do cartwheels, some people, you know what I mean? Like, so
You said something
like cartwheels, right? So I mean,
and people like to project though.
Exactly.
Like you can't. Don't say no. Just say what you
can do, right?
I have self-control and good boundaries.
Exactly, and I have great boundaries, right? So I care when we have these conversations. I'm asking about you. I'm asking about the things that make you happy. I'm asking about the things that all those things, and I try my best. You tell me how much information you want to tell me. The basic foundations of are you happy? Are the situations you put yourself in allow you to be happy and productive in what you're trying to do? But when we get into spaces, when we have lunch or dinner or whatever, right? It's the conversations that I ask have never been violating. And if it is, I try my best to, we're going to apologize. We're going to make sure that we don't do that. But I've never had an issue, right? I have women that mentored me. So I felt like, why couldn't I do it back?
I think some people, both men and women, some of the reasons why they can't have that type of relationship is because they get into some relationships thinking about how it can simply benefit them.
Man,
Well,
no.
your relationships with them as a mentor is I'm simply here to benefit
I'm for you. I'm for you. You don't got to
know.
give me nothing.
Exactly.
You see what I'm
And
saying?
so, a lot of people go into relationships thinking about, well, what am I?
Getting
Everything has
Exactly.
to be transactional
Yeah.
for them.
Exactly.
And that's not how mentorship
Exactly.
has to work.
And that's what, and it's crazy that y'all bring up these things because it keeps bringing up conversations that I've had in the past, because I feel like a lot of people think, that it has to be transactional all the time. And I tell people all the time that you can make transactions with a transformation, right? And those transactions, the transactions that I want to have with my mentees are ones that are transformational,
Right.
for both of our lives. And that is, and so for me, again, I feel like those are the things in terms of investing the time, spending the time to kind of help you with the things that I know you care about more than some dude, right? But trying to put yourself in a situation where you already have double barriers that you have to accomplish. I'm talking about Black women, right? Like you already a woman and you Black. Like there's so many other things that you got to deal with other than this ancient nigga here, whatever. Or like, so I'm not even, you know what I'm saying? So we don't have to get into all of that. Like let's figure out how we gonna get you to where you need to be, and then we can start worrying about all those other factors later. But like you said, I'm here for you.
And oftentimes when a young woman is dealing with a guy that's not the best for her, when I'm helping you accomplish those goals aren't going to match the person that you're with anyway. So in time, you're not going to want to talk to him no more, because you're going to,
you're going to
grow through that. You're going to evolve.
Exactly.
Usually you end up being with somebody that is at the same place that you are. But as you evolve, sometimes y'all just don't match no more.
Yeah. Interests change. The struggles change. You can't relate. You just
can't relate. Sorry, can't relate to that.
So I definitely do have a lot of young Black women that I've mentored, and I'm very proud of all of them. Many of them are part of my village, part of my community. I call it the auntie gang for my
and I
kids.
love my babies.
Yeah, because it's
babies.
important. So I've been blessed, but yeah, big boundaries, being able to establish the premise, and most importantly, and my wife knows about this, is that I also, when the relationship is solidified in terms of me and that mentee, they also get a peek and they know who's in my life.
Right.
So I'm always very proud of the woman that I'm with. So I mention it.
We become family. It really becomes family.
Y'all know so by the time, every time Wanda come into the space, she already come in. They're like, "Oh, I heard about you." And it's not no phony like, "Oh, I heard about you." It's like they're excited to meet you. It's like meeting an older sister. It's like meeting someone that's on the same level as their mentor. So it's like, "Oh, hey, so great to finally meet you. I've heard so much about you."
And
so
now
she
they
doesn't.
see a female or a woman example of you.
Pretty much,
you
yeah.
So it's just like, oh, okay, well then, there's, so the guards for her, I mean, and she can, whenever we get to talk about this in the future, but she'll share, but like the guards for her already come down, because she's like, oh, they already know, they don't seem to be, it doesn't seem to be any hidden, I'm not a woman, so y'all know, y'all can read, y'all see the thin lines, y'all know, y'all see the matrix.
Be like, hey, I'd be like,
y'all be knowing the matrix.
You already know what's up, right?
Y'all see it, y'all got that third, fourth eye, y'all can break that shit down, y'all can see between those lines that, us brothers can't see. But most times her intuition tells her like, nah, this is good. So that, and I try to continue those types of, interactions.
Yeah. Well, I've always appreciated your mentorship, so that's why I wanted to give you your flowers.
And I'm excited to have been able to meet you.
Yes, it has been a pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you.
Yes. Any closing thoughts?
No, I will. I should say no before talking, but like, well, I mean, I will just say again, thank you so much. I'm very proud of you. I'm proud of you with this podcast. I know I didn't get to talk a lot about my podcast, and we'll save that for a future episode. But I'm really proud to just be able to see my peoples continue to grow and grow the right way. It's always been a pleasure to meet new people, make new friends, and so I look forward to just continued relationships.
We got time. Close out a little about your
podcast.
You can tell us.
Shout out, so you check out my podcast. My Black is Transnational. So I didn't get into much of the work, but a lot of the things that I do is about understanding that a lot of African immigrants, or even Black immigrants in the diaspora, they come to America, but a lot of them have still strong connections back to the homeland. And a lot of them leverage this best of both worlds to be able to, move forward in life. But what I want to do is also bring this bridge to the forefront about reconnecting African Americans to back to the homeland. I believe that in order for us to be able to defeat institutional racism, we have to become an institution. And in order for us to do that, there has to be reconciliation in the Black community
Absolutely.
between Black immigrants and African Americans. So the idea of transnationalism is about being able to be connected to both worlds, because other communities tend to have these things and they leverage it. People from different parts of the world still are very much so connected to their native home countries. They go back and forth. As Africans, we do as well. But because of the history of being Black and how involuntary slavery created the diaspora, so to speak, many of us still don't create enough connections back to Africa, or at least create opportunities for those conversations between African Americans and Africans to have. So a lot of the things that my podcast has is really bringing those conversations to light, bringing the experience of what Black immigrants have, kids who grew up immigrant like myself, who had to navigate both worlds by trying to blend in with the African American, but also have to come home and be African.
Right.
So there's a lot of those types of multiple identity crisis.
And that's what I mean by what I said, taught you to adapt.
Yeah,
in
exactly.
those different spaces.
I had to be different things to become who I am, and then find out where the sweet spot is. And so those are like what those conversations I have in the podcast. We're 6 seasons in. Check us out anywhere you listen to your favorite podcast. We're on YouTube too. We just started for season 5, and season 6 is currently in the roll. So yeah, that's what we're doing.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you. Let's go ahead and close out. We appreciate you again.
Yes.
And as you know, we are not the podcast for tea, so wine me, please.
And don't forget, if you want our advice, send us an email to advice@winemepleasepodcast.com.